Welcome to Casa de Confidence, a podcast for you. You'll hear some incredible women
and some awesome, cool dudes
going confidently in the direction of their dreams and living in the purpose of their heart.
You're our host,
Julie DeLucca-Collins, and you are our sidekick. # handsome hot husband.
That again.
And the producer of the show.
That I am.
I am an author, speaker, coach, dreamer, and most of all,
we help people go in the direction of their dreams
and support them on their purpose. So pull up a chair,
grab a drink,
and make yourself at home because our casa
is your casa. Welcome back to Casa de Confidence. This is Dan.
And this is Julie.
Hi, Julie. How are you today?
I am fantastic.
Yeah, you're fantastic.
I am fantastic. Listen, I want to tell you that New England has been especially beautiful.
It has been lately, yes. The leaves are almost done, though.
I know. Who's going to clean all of that?
I don't know. Looks like I saw that you bought a new rake.
Yes, I bought a rake.
Was that for me or for you?
It's for the community. I've been trying to teach the dogs to rake, but they're not embracing it.
They like to play with the leaves. That's kind of cute.
It is kind of cute. Really, really cute. Hey, by the way, Thanks for doing karaoke with me last night.
I did karaoke last night?
Yes,
I did.
You did.
That was fun.
Dan said we were at our friend Amanda's house.
Mm-hmm.
So she broke out her new karaoke machine and we were about to leave. And she's like, no, just let's sing and play and have fun. And I said, all right. And Dan's like, all right, well, we'll say a little bit, but we won't sing.
Well, I won't sing.
I won't sing.
I'm going to listen.
Right. I won't sing.
Well, that didn't go over.
Well, you know what happened is I chose a song that was intentionally a duet.
I know.
And handed Dan a microphone and he couldn't help himself.
I know. It was fun. It's a lot less intimidating to sing karaoke when you're in somebody's living room rather than at a venue.
Yeah, I know, but you are much better at this whole song than I am.
I know.
He knows. Wow.
That's
crazy.
Not better than or less than. It's just having a good time and having fun.
Yeah. So anyhow, today is a very interesting day because we are wrapping up October.
We are wrapping up October
of 2024 because this is evergreen content. And if you are just tuning in, and maybe it's tuning in years from now, you're going to be like, what are they wrapping up?
I can't believe it is. The month's already over.
I know.
It's crazy. This month flew.
What are you going to wear for Halloween, Dan?
I'm going to wear the same clothes I wear on every day. You're
not going to wear a costume?
To wear to work?
Well, we can go trick-or-treating somewhere.
We can dress up in Greek trick-or-treaters this year, maybe.
We never have trick-or-treaters in our home.
Our neighborhood's old.
Oh, you might be old. I'm not old.
No, I'm saying there's no kids on our street right now.
Uh-huh. That's true. That's true. Well, we live in a very busy road also. So this is not the ideal trick-or-treating road that parents would like their kids to walk
we're
through.
on the corner of a busy street, but the other street goes and it becomes a cul-de-sac. So that used to be a big trick-or-treating thing back when there was a lot of kids here. Well, but they're no longer.
They're not any
adults
kids
now.
out there. That's for sure. That's for sure. So listen, today we have Mischelle O'Neal on the show, and she is a seasoned military veteran. She was in the Air Force like my dad.
Oh, cool.
And she said one thing that was really powerful. A lot of times we try to go for perfection. And she said, go for excellence. And that has stuck with me. What is your definition of excellence, Daniel?
My definition of excellence is doing the best you can at the task that you're doing. And putting your full effort into it.
Now, the other thing that we talked a lot about is delegation. I think that's the thing that many entrepreneurs really struggle with is delegation. Do you have a problem with delegation?
Do I have a problem with delegation?
Or do you delegate well?
I delegate well in certain instances, but
such as
I'm not a good delegator here.
You're not a good delegator
when it comes to my sound editing and stuff like that.
You're very possessive of it.
I am. Well, I gotta, because in order to delegate, I need to take the time to teach, and I do that at work.
Mm-hmm.
But here, it's different. I'm just getting it completed. Want to make sure it's good, and I just haven't had the time to teach and delegate.
Well, but if someone doesn't need to be taught, they need to just be delegated. Would you be open to that?
Sure.
But I think that a lot of times we think, I know I was intimidated, and I've talked about this on the podcast many times. I felt intimidated in delegating when I was in my corporate career because I felt like I was going to make myself obsolete.
See, that's an old way of thinking.
I know it's an old way of thinking.
We used to run into this in industry where people were afraid to teach somebody else their job because then they would lose their job. And I think nowadays it's a little different. You're teaching people, to do that job. Yeah. So it's not quite like that. I'm sure it is in some cases. In some ways. People are suspicious of teaching something that only they know how to do. Like over the past couple of years, I've been helping 2 new people where I work to learn the thing that only I did. And it made me kind of indispensable. But now there's 3 of us. And you know what?
What?
The work has grown 3-fold. So
indeed,
it was a good investment in time and resources to get 2 other people on board with a thing that has grown and that's good. I didn't lose my job because I'm still there.
So I've been really staying away from social media in the last week or so.
Really?
I have. Well, I haven't. I mean, I've posted minimally, but that's because I've been playing catch up. And I think that I also, as I don't want to get into too much of the minutia that seems to be navigating in social media lately, where lots of people are having different discussions. I'd like to believe I'm right. And when people have a different opinion, it's hard on me. I want to convert them to my way of thinking.
I know.
Do you think that's wrong?
Sounds like a certain. Never mind.
What? Oh my God. Anyhow, the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about is the fact that Jimmy Buffett was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And thank you for watching it with me. It was fantastic.
I got a little, what's it called? Verklempt.
I got a lot. Verklempt. I got lots of misties. And he was called a modern day poet.
That's true.
Which I absolutely think that he was. So, and if anybody hasn't checked out Jimmy Buffett, I think that it's very important to check new people and new things and see, what you can learn or grow from that.
Yeah. It's one of those artists people, it's a lot of fun. His music is fun, but listen to the lyrics. A lot of the stuff he says is pretty friggin' deep. Even though it doesn't sound deep, it is. It's like
it is.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
especially his later in life stuff.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I'm looking forward to is going to the Jimmy Buffett Day every year from now on.
Oh, cool.
In Key West.
It's always in Key West. All right, maybe I'll go with you next year.
I think you should come with me. I think it'll be very fun.
Hey, not to change the topic.
You change the topic?
We're going on a little trip in a couple months.
We're going to Florida for PodFest. And I'm really excited for that because, well, I get to speak. You applied to speak. You're not sure if you're going to speak, but I thought that was going to be a really fun time. And I'm hoping that we can get the majority of our Confident You clients to come along with us. And we'll see. We're going to have fun no matter what.
And we're going to represent Casa de Confidence and New England
podcasters.
Yeah. So that'll be cool.
Very, very cool.
Gonna stay at where's the SeaWorld Hotel?
It's the Renaissance SeaWorld Resort.
Very cool.
It's a very nice hotel. Now, I want to transition a little bit to talking about Mischelle O'Neal because this is a timely conversation considering everything that's going on in my life and yours. What do you think we're talking about?
I have no idea.
Okay. Well, first of all, I sent an email out to the community because I had been remiss and had not been sending emails because of everything that kind of has been happening. And I have to tell you that it was one of the most beautiful experiences to receive so much love from people in the Confident You community. They sent tons of really great wishes. And really the email was about being grateful and having gratitude. A lot of people told me what they were grateful for, but because I shared the new changes that we have going on with us, my mom has moved in with us. A lot of people had really great tips and encouragement on transitioning into this new stage of life of being a half sandwich.
Open face? Is it warm or a cold sandwich? I mean, what's this?
Listen, it's a half sandwich because we have no kids. But,
that's right.
You know, we are caregivers now for my mom.
It's a sandwich generation, but we're a half sandwich generation.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is why, you know, I think that this conversation with Mischelle O'Neal, who again is a former military, thank you for your service, Mischelle. It's so really timely, right? She understands the demands of having to be in that space of caring not only for your spouse, your children, your parents. However, one of the things that I love is that she understands that as caretakers, we need to have emotional wellness. And she uses cognitive behavioral techniques and neuro-linguistic programming to help individuals with that mental clarity. And honestly, I think that when it comes to mental clarity, it also has to be said that if you're not mentally clear, it affects you physically. And for me, I definitely know that when my brain feels fried, my energy level is so low. And here's the thing. I think that when we kind of put ourselves in a position to move our bodies, it clears our mind. And if our mind is clear, then in essence, we have more energy to do things in life. And the times in which, you know, I sleep late or I just very passively living, then my mind feels mush and I don't have a lot of the enthusiasm for life.
Feels mush?
Feels mush.
Mush.
I mean, what else would you call it, Daniel?
Mush. I think it's perfect.
You think my mind being mush is perfect?
No, I think your description of the way your mind could become.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, get it. You know, the other thing too that I realize is that as we go through this new transitioning and new stage of our lives, it's very important to be in community. And this is why last night, being out with our friends, having fun, and my mom had a fun time. She was laughing at me because apparently I don't have a very good voice. But
You're
it was
fine.
really nice to be in community. It was really nice to just do things and not kind of isolate yourself. So I thought that that was another very important thing. So as we continue to go through, I want to remind us to do that. I want to remind us to make sure that we're not isolating, that we're not staying to ourselves, that we're seeking the company of others and being out and about.
Yeah, I started off the day not feeling well physically. I had a migraine, I had aches and pains. I was dizzy. I did all this, and you know what? I got my stuff together. And rather than saying, Julie, I just don't feel well to go, I win.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot all that. I forgot I felt so good when we left. I wasn't tired and drained. I was energized by the fact that we were with people doing different things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that was so nice.
Absolutely. So I know that this conversation is going to be powerful for you to listen to, whether you are a caretaker or not, because as women, we take on a lot. And it's very important to be reminding of maintaining balance for ourselves and boundaries and prioritizing ourselves no matter what stage and age in life we are. So for that reason, I can't wait for you to listen to this conversation with Mischelle O'Neal. And remember that take a moment to reflect on how you've navigated the expectations that life has for you. And what does it mean to have emotional wellness?
All right. So I hope you all enjoy this interview with Julie and Mischelle O'Neal. Have a great week.
Welcome back, my friends. I am excited to have our next guest with us today. She is a seasoned military veteran. Mischelle masterfully blends the strategic discipline of her military background and her profound expertise in cognitive behavioral therapies and neuro-linguistic programming. Her approach is not just about navigating life's challenges, but thriving amidst them. I'm excited for this conversation because I am certified in cognitive behavioral coaching and techniques, not a therapist, but definitely this is something that, from my personal experience, has been transformational to be able to do cognitive behavioral techniques and really analyze the thoughts that lead us to the behavior that we have. So I want to unpack a lot of this with Mischelle, but also we're going to talk a little bit about generational care. So stay tuned for this conversation and let's welcome our guest. Hi, Mischelle.
Hi, I am thrilled to be here, to be at UCASA, your casa.
My casa is your casa for sure. And listen, let's talk a little bit about who you are. Thank you for your service. Tell the listeners a little bit about your background in the military. How did you join? When did you join? How long were you there? And what are you doing now after your military career?
I am serial military. We'll just say it like that because my father was in the military. And then I joined the military. My husband was in the military and my daughter was in the military for a bit. So and all Air Force.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. You go. Yeah. My dad was in the Air Force, so I'm an Air Force person too. My brother was in the Air Force and my other brother was in the Army. So there's a little discord there, but
we'll
we're
forgive
mostly
him.
we'll forgive him. He did
Yes.
ROTC in college and he went into and he still serves as a reserve. But he's been doing some really interesting work for NATO. So and that's all I think I can say.
Yeah, well, I have always been around the military, as you figured out. And so being able to make quick changes, being able to adapt, being able to go with the flow, all of that has just been a part of my life, living and growing. And one of the big things for me that I found out is everybody's not like that. It's not easy for everyone. I have been blessed that I grew up in it.
Mm-hmm.
But understanding that flip really was big for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I think that, there's a certain way of thinking from where I see this, that and my dad didn't come from military background, but certainly his way of thinking of doing things was very methodical at times and definitely very strategic. He liked to focus and be very disciplined as well in the things that he does every day. Do you find that that is a little bit of how you operate as well?
Very much so. I love order. Order is very important to me. It's my happy place. It allows me to think.
Yeah.
And I realize that I'm kind of logical in my thinking in a way. It's like, here's the process, or here's the thing you want to get done. What are all the steps that I need to do to get it done? Simple as that.
Yeah.
It sounds simple to me, but it isn't that simple and methodical to everybody else.
I used to think, Mischelle, that when we were disciplined or this strategic, my dad was very methodical, right? And my parents divorced when I was 5, and then I went to live with him when I went to college. And it used to drive me crazy because he's certainly the total opposite of my mom. My mom is kind of fly by the seat of your pants. She, organization, it's not something that it's her strong suit. Where my dad was very orderly, and it used to drive me crazy because I thought, this is so crazy. Why is it that your closet is so organized? And now I find that it gives me a lot of peace. It gives me a lot of, it's a good place to be where I thought that it was stifling before. And I know that there's a lot of people that kind of thrive in the fly by the seat of your pants. But what are some of the things that, because you're an emotional wellness coach, what does that do to our wellness when we have order in certain areas of our life?
It's the ability to focus. For me, it really is. For me, and I deal with it every day. It's something that we all deal with. So one of the things is I realize that when I'm trying to remember things and, I got to do this and I got to do this, and I don't take the time to write it down when it comes to my mind, or I don't take the time to really think it through, that's taken up my energy and my space in my mind. And so I can't focus on other things that need to be taken care of. So for me, just taking that time in the morning to kind of look at my calendar and my schedule, and figure out what's on my agenda for the day. And then that also allows you that space of saying, if it doesn't fit into what I want to do today or what I plan on getting accomplished today, then it's easier for me to say no. And because of my personality, I literally out loud say, stop.
Yeah.
And say, refocus, girl. I mean, I literally turn myself to refocus. So, and my family thinks I'm a little OCD anyway. So,
yeah, my husband thinks that from time to time.
So those are the things. It's just the ability to focus, the ability to have routine. Routine is so important.
Yeah.
And I realize even when I travel a lot, if I don't stick to my routine, there's a lot of things that don't get done or they get forgotten. I am a creature of habit, but I also like spontaneity.
Yeah. I think that habits create the space for being spontaneous.
Yes.
And people don't realize that. And that was the big aha moment for me, that once I started to create these consistent habits, it gave me so much space to be able to say, oh, okay. Right. And this morning, as a matter of fact, so we're in spring finally here in New England. And I typically during spring, summer, fall, I tend to sit outside or sit in my Zen den for coffee. And that's my little ritual. And I have to tell you that having that and in the winter months when I'm just not doing that, or I kind of feel discombobulated at times. And today I got to sit outside, had my coffee, watch the birds, see my dogs play. It set me up for being in a better frame of mind for the day.
And that's the whole thing. You have to, that's what mindfulness is really big for me. Because it allows you that space. You can't change the future.
Yeah.
It's done. And you don't know what's you can't change the past, and you don't know what's going to happen in the future.
I got it. I got you, girl.
Yeah. So
I knew.
So, it's like, that's what happened. I can't change that, but I can learn from it.
You
I
can
can
learn from
determine
it. Yeah.
what I'm going to take with it moving forward. And I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I have no clue, but I can sit into and make a difference in today. And so you're sitting outside is something, you're sitting outside, or for me, if I can't go outside, I'll actually sit in front of a window and just look out. And it allows me the ability to refocus on what's important. There are trees out there, there are leaves out there that I have absolutely nothing to do with making sure they turn green. to making sure that they come back every day. There are homes out there that I did not build. And so these are things that put everything in perspective for me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think that from time to time, right, we have so many different things going on in our lives that rob us of our peace, and we cannot control that. And being able to take, like you said, that mindfulness in being able to be aware, find the gratitude in things as we go about, kind of replenishes our tank, or refills our battery. We're kind of like that phone that if we don't plug in, we're running on empty, and then pretty much, we're not going to be good to ourselves or to the people around us.
And the thing is, and I tell my daughter all the time, and myself, is like, it's not the world according to Mischelle, or it's not the world according to Janetta. We are not the only thing and the only people in the world. So, look at how you contribute, but also how you fit.
Yeah. What prompted you to go from a military career and now, pivoting or not pivoting or starting a new chapter really in cognitive behavioral techniques and neuro-linguistic programming? Because I love this realm, but I'd love for you to share a little bit of what was the journey and what led you here.
What's funny is I had a coach a few years back, and I was telling her about, I love working with women. And one of the things I used to do is image consulting. And I realized when I was doing that the issue wasn't how they looked. The issue was internal, how they felt about themselves, how they felt the world saw them, and how they saw themselves. And I said, and working with clients, that's where the real transformation came about.
Yeah.
And when I was talking about her trying to really decide what my niche is and all that, she says, have you ever heard of CBT or REBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, or, relational, emotional, so when she asked me that, I said, no. She says, because that's what you use. And so that's when I started looking at and putting a scientific name and some study behind what came naturally for me, or what I could see naturally. And that's why I do it. And that's why I now do mindfulness, cognitive behavioral therapy. All those things are just so important to how we as women move forward, because a lot of our issues, there's an inner glass ceiling, as Dr. Zamet says. And the thing with that inner glass ceiling is there are a lot of values and beliefs and patterns that we have in our lives, which I've known for the longest, just didn't know what to call them. That we deal with, and that constitutes how we act, our behavior, our actions, how we make decisions in our lives. And until we deal with that root, there'll never be a permanent change. We're always going to fall back, or what you call backsliding. We're always going to backslide to what was natural, what was comfortable for us.
I call those our frenemies. Our inner frenemies, because they're friends. They've been here forever, but we really don't serve us, and they're our enemies. They work against us.
Exactly.
I love that inner glass ceiling concept, though. And I think that many of us don't realize that it's there, but we continue to bump our head on it.
Exactly. And so that's now how I got to the generational caregiving. This is a long way to get there. But because in the military, I was also in what the Air Force band. I was a vocalist in the band. And one of the things I noticed is we would do a lot of performing with the elderly and with the high schools and the schools. And I love those two group of people. But I found out when I'm there around them constantly, I didn't have the patience that I felt I should have. And so it's like, how can I serve these people, but not be a hindrance to them because of who, my personality or things that didn't come naturally to me. and I start looking at all the people that I've seen helping and caregiving and taking care of their elderly, taking care of their kids. I always tell my daughter, I am not maternal, baby. I love you dearly, but I am not the soccer mom. And she's older now, and she got it. And she was with me. We were in the mall. We weren't out playing soccer. But anyway, so with that said, I wanted to support the person because I love women. I love helping them be better, be the best, be excellent, because we are excellent.
Yeah.
How could I support the person supporting the people that I love? And that's what got me into this, dealing with generational caregiving and supporting and uplifting and because of my being able to prepare things or understanding my way of doing things, I was able to give them the tools and the resources and the thought processes of how to get through their days, how to emotionally deal with their days. It's going to get worse. I'm not going to ever tell you that, oh, it's going to get better.
Yeah.
It will get worse, but if you're equipped, if you're prepared, if you know how to go through the processes to make yourself better in the process, if I'm there and I'm helping you, I'm all in, girl.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, for many of us, we think, and this is a false thought. I had it, right? Oh, I'm going to go through coaching and I'm going to be good. And I'm going to be done. I'm going to learn it. And then I'm all set, right? But when we are doing the internal work, we become aware, and then we continue to do the work because those frenemies don't go away. And, we might be able to create a little window in that glass ceiling that we have, but we have other areas in which we need to continue to work. The work is never done, and that's part of the human experience. What are some of the things that you see that people struggle the most when it comes to generational care? Because I think that there's many facets, right, that people can focus on.
Guilt is a big one.
Mm.
Guilt. We know how we were as kids.
Yeah.
We are naturally selfish individuals. That's human nature. And so when we start looking back over our lives and how we felt we showed up and interacted during that time, there's a guilt. So a lot of things that we didn't do or we did, what now we're dealing for the person who took care of us, who was dedicated to us, who and we love them and we don't want to say no, and we want to do what they want, but we also want to do what we know what's good for them.
Yeah.
And so we're struggling with all that, with that guilt. We're struggling with how we feel, our feelings. I'm frustrated. I'm angry.
Yeah.
I feel like I have to put my life on hold. I feel like, and so we're dealing with the guilt with that, but the reality of those feelings. And no one has told us you have permission to feel that way. It is normal.
Oh.
But how you move through this. Now let's move through this.
Yeah. How does someone move through that? And I'd love for you to unpack a little bit of that for us, because, guilt, what I believe, and again, guilt is such a complex feeling.
Yeah.
And there's so many things that add, right? Religion and relationships and our own beliefs, and the perspective that we have. How do you help individuals that are dealing with guilt? Especially in that caregiving space, because I've been there. My mom broke her pelvis last year. I know people are probably sick of me talking about this, but it really was a defining moment in not only my journey, but also my relationship with her. I was scared of something happening to her, and it did. She lives alone. And for me, as the oldest, right, I've been conditioned to, I'm the one who takes care of things. I'm the one who does. And at what price, right? And where do we create the healthy boundary, is so that we still show up for those that need us, but still refill that battery that we've been talking about?
Honesty. And this is the hardest thing for us to do. I would say women, but I think the human race is being totally honest with yourself. And that's void of societal expectations, of generational expectations, of all that. But being honest with how you feel is like, yeah, I'm angry. I am pissed, and owning that's how I feel, but it doesn't mean you have to wallow there. Wow. That's the difference. The difference is these are the emotions. In fact, there are times when I'm angry, or I'll tell my husband, give me an hour, give me 5 minutes. I'll be.
Yeah, I've been there too.
But let me work through it. Let me walk through it. Let me allow myself to feel all the anger and the hurt and the frustration that I'm feeling right now. And it will resurface. I'm not going to lie. It will resurface. But if you allow yourself to admit it and work through it, then the voice of reasoning starts talking to you. Yeah. And the things like, is it worth it? Is that the way they see it, or is that the way you see it? So the reasoning starts coming in, and you start checking the facts. And so for me, the big things, that's why I don't like, affirmations are good, but I practice declarations.
Ooh, tell me more about that.
Declarations are stating a fact and having the evidence to back it up.
Ooh, okay. Because in affirmation, we're sometimes telling ourselves things that we're not really believing or really have the buy-in on.
Right. And so a declaration says you have the proof from before. I know I can get through this. I did with my mom. I did the last time that this happened. I did. You have the proof to back it up. So now you say, I can get through this because my track record proves it.
Wow.
With
so
mom,
good.
with this. And so now you have something to stand on. There's a truth that's rooted in fact.
I'm going to have to adopt these. I'm going to start to go through and create some real powerful declarations for myself. Mischelle, what are some of the declarations that you use for yourself?
I am enough. I am enough. I am enough because I know that when I give my all, I am doing everything in excellence. And so I'm not leaving anything out. I am using every aspect of knowledge or experience that I have. And as long as I know I operate in that, I'm enough because that's all I got.
Yeah. I love that. I know that these declarations, are helping us also rewire our brain.
Yes.
Where do people struggle? Yeah. And where do people struggle with rewiring their brain?
The societal expectations, the old values and beliefs, I remember someone talking about a story. His name is Brian Buffini, and he was talking about understanding his wife's background. And she would always put on the side of the refrigerator she would fold up the paper bags and slide them on the side of the refrigerator. And it would frustrate him dearly, It's like, why are you keeping all these bags? And why are they beside the refrigerator? Till he went to her grandmother's house. And he realized that was happening in her grandmother's house. So this is something she learned from her grandmother and carried it into her life. Yeah. That same kind of baggage and paper bags that she learned and carried into her life is what we do.
Yeah. It's really funny you say about the bags. I was just visiting my sister in Florida, and my mom used to do this. We would get the plastic grocery bags, and although there was a garbage can, she would hang one by the sink on the cabinet, right? On the handle of the cabinet. And there was always a bag there of garbage when there's a garbage can. Now, mind you, that drives me insane. And you won't find a bag hanging from my cabinet like that. But both at my sister's houses, they do have that bag. And my brother-in-law says, like, Georgie, why do you put this here like this? And mind you, they've been married forever. They've been high school sweethearts. And and I thought, because that's what she learned. And for us, that's the beliefs and the things that we have in our lives. We really have written it because somebody else wrote them for us as well.
Right.
By the way, that's the generational stuff, because I'm sure somebody's grandmother learned that from somebody else.
Exactly. And so that's where you make the choice in your life. Am I going to live this truth based on someone else, or am I going to find my own real truth? You know, they always say there's your truth, their truth, and the real truth.
And the real truth, correct.
And my goal is to help my clients find the real truth. You know, and one of my biggest saying is when I look at what's happening with other people is, can I walk in their shoes? And most times, because I don't know their story, I cannot walk in their shoes.
Yeah.
So I have to make my own story and wear the shoes that fit me.
Yeah, it's true. I was listening to to someone share it, and I think I've shared this on the podcast as well. But it was someone gave the example that if we were to sit around the fire, and each of us was to write our story, the biggest burden that we have, and then we put it all into a box, and then we went around and people got to pick again a burden from the box. Most people would not take up somebody else's burden. They would, for as much as you think like, I hate what I'm going through, you would not pick up somebody else's, because when in the scheme of things, what we are going through, we know, right? It's that pain that we know, or that struggle that we're familiar with, where there's so many other things that we would never put ourselves in those shoes. And I think that when it comes to nurturing ourselves, we forget that what we have, like you said, we can manage, we can handle. And it's a matter of reminding ourselves to nurture ourselves, our spirit, our mind, before we go nurturing others as well. And we can,
I was saying that, you know, when we deal with our own stuff, we really know our limits.
Yeah.
And so the art of boundaries in that is knowing when to say no, when to stop, when to have non-negotiables, what I call non-negotiables, knowing that I'm not going to allow anyone to call me out of my name. I don't care who you are. You know, at this point, that will not happen. You will not call me, you know, and knowing these things, I will not, do not talk to me before I have my first cup of coffee, if that's your non-negotiable.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Or allow me 15 minutes by myself before we engage in conversation. One of the things I think a lot of men do when they, back in the day, because I remember my father would, when he come home from work, he needed a half an hour. And that half an hour would allow him to debrief from the military to the home life and be present for the family after that half an hour.
Yeah. It's important to be able to know what you need. I think that at times, right, we want to jump in because, again, that guilt or those preconceived notions or whatever it is that the world says that we should do, but yet we forget. I remember when my mom was in the hospital, this was really big. And even when my dad also, when he was in hospice and I spent time with him at the hospital, I would take 5 minutes to go and walk and just kind of walk out of the room, step out and, you know, breathe or even sing a song as I was walking down the hallways, because I needed to just kind of be outside of that norm. And I knew that if I wanted to show up, I needed to also show up for myself first. And many individuals who are in that space of caregiving, especially whether it be multi generations, right? Whether it be caring for parents or their children, they end up losing themselves and not creating that space like your dad did.
But it's based a lot of time on one of those inner glass ceilings.
Mm-hmm.
The ones of, if you find yourself always giving and serving and trying to do and try, it's because you don't feel you're enough. There's a good
Yes.
possibility you don't feel you're enough.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that's the only reason, but if you're, it's learning the why
Mm-hmm.
behind why you do what you, especially if it's something that irritates you. I'm
yeah.
so tired of always giving to everybody, doing everything for everybody, and nobody seems to appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody gives back to me.
Yeah.
Well, why?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that that's the one thing that I've seen, especially with many women, right, who are working their business, is they want to do it all for everyone else. And then they become so tired, and then they become angry that nobody is helping them or doing it. But it's because they have not put their stake in the ground and said, okay, this is what I need. Or they themselves don't know what they need because they're so used to doing for everybody else and not themselves.
And that plays back to also not only that, I'm just using that one a lot,
Mhm.
but because so many of us identify with it, but also what you learned. Think about, especially as you get older, that means when you were a child, it was way back. And so
Right.
it could have been the Joan Cleaver time, if you know Leave It to
Mhm.
Beaver, which
Yeah.
I'm sure most of you don't know.
I
But
know it.
but what I'm saying is the wife took care of everything. She did
Right.
this, she did that. And so it's those expectations that your mother taught you. I mean,
Mhm.
think about it. What's our first toy as a
A
woman?
doll, a baby
A
doll,
doll. And what are you doing with that doll?
caring for it.
You're changing it. You're loving it. You're
Yeah.
feeding it.
Yeah.
And so that's what we've learned to do all our life. When you
Mhm.
become a mother, what do you do? Except for
Yeah.
me, I call the hospital and say, what do I do with this
What do I
thing?
do? Yeah, I get it. I'm there with you. Mischelle, it's funny you should bring this up because yesterday, we have a very special dog. He
Mm,
is on Prozac. And
wow.
so he's just very, if you think of Eeyore, that's kind of our dog Yogi. And he's so like, "Moo," but then gets, really whiny. And anyway,
Mm,
he went on Prozac and he's been on it for a couple of years. And he couldn't have his prescription refilled because he needed to have his liver enzymes
uh-huh.
measured. So finally, we made the appointment. He went, and the prescription, he's been off the medication for almost a month now, which has been unbearable. But yesterday, we were sitting in bed, and my husband's like, "You need to call tomorrow for the medication and make sure that they refill the medication." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then I'm looking at my calendar and I'm going through and I'm like, "Okay, when am I going to call? I need to put this on my," and I'm like, "Wait a minute. He has the day off tomorrow. Why am I going to call? Like, are you kidding me?" But this is right. Like, that's the thought that many of us who are in that caretaking in that space, and especially for women, we're like, "Oh, okay, I'll do it." Not to mention that the dogs also need food, right? So
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to go and make arrangements to go and buy it or have it delivered. It's got the day off. We have to be okay with saying, "I need you to do this. I need you to support me." And many of us are not open to doing that. And I think that this is why you create the support that you do for women, correct?
Exactly. And it's that the military in me says delegate,
Yeah.
delegate.
Delegate. Do what you
Girlfriend,
do best and
delegate.
delegate the rest. That's my motto.
Well, but when you were saying that, I thought about how one of the reasons that we do everything is also nobody can do it as good as I can. I can do it faster, and I can do it better.
Oh yeah, for sure. That
and
happens to many of us.
Especially our kids, we got to allow them to fail. We have to allow them to learn the process. How are they going to get better? How are they going to be able to take care of themselves on their own if we don't allow that? If we don't teach them in the process, but we don't allow it. A lot of times our husbands don't do stuff because we don't allow it. We really don't. A lot of times they would do stuff for us if we just ask.
If we ask,
hey,
absolutely.
Can you call since you're off tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely.
I am slammed. I can't.
Yeah, that's so good. I was thinking as you're speaking, especially with children, right? How we don't allow them to do things. I watched this video on social media, and it's a little boy. He really is, I would say, a toddler, maybe 4 or 5, but he actually cooks.
Wow.
Like really cook. Like his mom has set up this little kitchen thing where he can actually make eggs. And obviously she's there to supervise, and he uses a knife to cut things. And I'm thinking, I wasn't allowed to touch any of that, much less, actually cook. But the reality is that the mom was there present and was willing to, let him fail and learn. And it's so interesting to watch this little kid who is, and by the way, his eggs look a heck of a lot better than mine do. But yeah, we have to be willing to let others do it and not do it like we do.
Exactly. And that's hard because especially as a mom, we have a way that my daughter would not play with her toys when she was real young, because I was so OCD that I taught her how to put her dishes in the dish rack, because she had the little kitchen thing. And I taught her how, and I said, baby, play with your toys. She said, they get messed up.
Yeah, that's right. There you go.
So
I think that's
you have
it.
to allow them to make I truly believe that we are doing a disservice by telling all our kids everybody wins. No, I'm sorry, baby. There's a winner and there's a loser.
Yeah.
And you have to learn how to take that loss and move on. And don't let it be your all in, be all. You learn how to move forward through that. And we have to teach them that knife, you got to cut. And I know it hurts. Let's put a Band-Aid around it. Mommy's going to kiss it. But now you know what it feels like. Me, I learned about a hot stove because I touched it, because my mom told me it's hot, but I want to touch it anyway.
That's right.
Well, how do we learn if we don't go through those experiences?
Yeah. That's the beauty of being able to explore, be curious, and even fail. And I think that for many of us, I know that I learned, failure's not an option, but really failure is the option, because we're not going to learn unless we do that failure, unless we kind of see what didn't work and practice at getting better.
Exactly. And that's what caregiving is all about. It's not a win or lose. Everybody learns something different because their whole process. So be an advocate. Be someone who in our community, be someone that someone else can learn from you, so they don't have to make that same mistake, or they can change it to fit their lifestyle, because you and I can go through the exact same thing, but the way we handle it, because of all our extraneous things going on around us, or how we grew up, is going to be absolutely different. But at least you shorten my process. At least you shorten my pain by knowing that little bit of something that you told me.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. Tell me about the Caring Corner.
The Caring Corner is are we talking? I got 2 things named my podcast.
Your podcast, yes. Okay. And then what is your other thing to talk about both of them?
Well, what it is I changed the name of it. I have a group as well on Facebook, but I changed the name on that. I was very, very distinct about what it is we do in there. But the Caring Corner is my podcast. And what I love to do is I bring experts on there. I just started that
Amazing.
will talk through different things. And I'm looking forward to getting more experts like a doctor and geriatrics or a human resources advocate who knows all the things you can do in your work process. Just recently, I had a relationship expert, and I had someone who did aromatherapy and all that, so there are things you can do with your loved one to help. If you have a child that's autistic or a parent who's having pain, there are things you do. I'm going to have a music therapist,
So beautiful. I love it.
The things that would help them, but also I talk about the issues, tell me your issue or something you're struggling with. Oh, girl, I'm going to find out about it. And we're going to talk about it on the Caring Corner.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And I think that we need to have a space where someone can curate that information. Sometimes we don't know what we need until we actually hear it. There's so many people that have reached out and said, oh my God, I'm so glad you had that person. Because sometimes that is the solution. Some of the work that you're doing is incredible. I really love that you're focusing on that generational caregiving, that you really are sharing your experiences and that you bring that training that you have in CBT and also in neuro-linguistic programming, because as we are in those spaces and places where we are giving to somebody else, we also have to learn how to manage ourselves in the process. Yeah. Amazing. I could talk to you forever, but you've been incredibly gracious with your time and generous. I so appreciate that. Tell me, how do people find you? How do they join your Facebook group? Where can they get some of your wonderful experience and expertise and resources?
Oh, awesome. You can find me on @Mischelle O'Neal on everything, on all my social media handles. And I wish I could tell you the name of the group. I will give it to you because I just changed
the name of the group is Women Balancing Caregiving, Careers, and Self-Care.
Thank you so much, because I have not memorized it yet. So thank you.
I love it.
My group, and I'll be opening it up within the next month that, for this particular group of women. And where else can you find me? Look, I just want to leave one thing with you. I know you didn't ask, but I want to leave a declaration.
Ooh, tell me.
For your women. I want you to say, I don't have to be perfect. I just have to be excellent. And that means that I bring all my experience, knowledge, and expertise to the table.
Mischelle, that is amazing. And I am going to go forward in my day and declare that I don't have to be perfect today, but I can be excellent. So thank you for being here. And by the way, we're going to have all the information of where you can find Mischelle, how you might be able to collaborate with her. Go ahead and listen to her podcast, give her a review, join her in her group, collaborate, tell her what your thoughts are on this show. Make sure also that if you have any questions and you want to leverage some of her expertise, you do so, reach out. And by the way, I do want to say that even though the information is on the show notes, if you don't go to the show notes right away, Mischelle is spelled Mischlle, not M-I-C-E. Yes, thank you. Say that again. Spell your name, because I'm not a good at spelling.
M-I-S-C-H-E-L-L-E.
There you go. Perfect. And that's Mischelle O'Neal. So thank you everyone for tuning in. I so appreciate all of the listeners and everyone who is here and continues to make Casa de Confidence the place where we find confidence and build a community. Until next time, I appreciate you. And again, go and share this episode with someone who needs it. This is Julie and Mischelle. Thank you again. Go confidently in the direction of your dreams, my friends.
Thanks for listening to Casa de Confidence. We thank you for listening, and if you want more, go to casadeconfidencepod.com. Check Julie out on her socials as Julie DeLucca-Collins. And you can also check out her website at goconfidentlycoaching.com. Have a great week, and don't forget, go confidently in the direction of your dreams.
Hi, everybody. I know that sometimes we get very lonely in this entrepreneur journey, and I want to invite you to join us into our limited time only Purposeful You Mastermind. For many of us entrepreneurs, we believe that we can do it all, but the reality is that doing it alone only creates a lot of overwhelm. So join us at the Purposeful You Mastermind. You can find out more information by going to bit.ly/Julie's Mastermind. This is going to be the place where you are able to then unlock your full potential and achieve long-term success for your business. Push you behind your current limits, expand your connections, discover new ideas, and implement them with confidence. You're going to get the support in all aspects and transforming you to the six-figure business you've been looking for. Pause and get off the hamster wheel if you've been spinning around. This is a time where you can get that support from like-minded entrepreneurs that are here to join you in your journey. Together, we can challenge the assumptions and land the speaking engagements and opportunities we want to grow our business and make an impact in the lives of people. See you then. Remember, you can find the mastermind at bit.ly Julie's Mastermind.